Welcome back to Pen and Pencil. Let's get right down to the topic. Party on, audience. If you've seen my reaction video to the latest Suicide Squad trailer, you could probably tell that I'm a huge fan of today's movie. Wayne's World! Party time, excellent. If you haven't seen this movie, I strongly advise, as I did in the last video, to go ahead and stop this video and go watch it. I'll wait, it's fine. But just for the sake of it, let's go ahead and do a quick recap. The 1992 comedy, directed by Penelope Spheris, stars Mike Myers and Dana Carvey, playing Wayne Campbell and Garth Algar, respectively. Based off of the Saturday Night Live sketch by the same name, follows Wayne and Garth and their public access show being bought up by this corporate guy named Benjamin, and all the shenanigans and tricks and all the stuff that happens. This is a really good movie. Whenever I bring up this movie in conversation, so much is talked about. The Bohemian Rhapsody scene, the Alice Cooper scene, the hockey scene, the list goes on and on. I think this film is much smarter than a lot of people would think it would be. I mean, not to say a whole lot of people think it's terrible. I'm sure they're out there, but there's not much of them. A lot of people just really like this film because it's funny. But I call it a really smart comedy despite its outer laying and look. Someone might say this is a dumb comedy because it's about two, for lack of a better term, slackers who have a public show who turn it into work, who then get cheated. It's one of those 90s films with the evil corporate business mogul thing, but it's not as dumb as you would think it would be. I mean, Benjamin is a bad dude, he's manipulative, but he's more of a person than a lot of other corporate villains from the time were. Maybe because this wasn't a family comedy, it didn't have to be so, oh, I'm evil and money is the greatest thing in the world, and did I say I was evil? A great thing about this movie is it actually fleshed out its characters. For two characters that originated in a sketch program where their presence was no longer than 5 minutes, these characters feel real. I mean, sure, they're still goofy and like they were in the sketches, and they definitely are the same characters, but they feel real. They're not just caricatures. They have caricature traits, but they feel, real. I mean, they walk out of Wayne's basement and they still their own characters, but they still act like people. And they're characters you actually like following. I mean, they're silly, they can be, kind of mean at times to other people. I mean, but they're still likable, they're still nice. They wouldn't really do anything bad. They're just people. Oh my goodness, the jokes in this movie are amazing. Not only the jokes themselves, but how many different types of jokes there are. Not only are there just funny situations and funny characters reacting to funny things, but there's fourth wall humor, like the scene with the product placement and whatnot, that's perfect. There's a boomerang joke where the setup is like really in the first 10 minutes of the film and then the punchlines at the very end of the film. I love that type of stuff. And yes, there is reference humor. So a lot of writers don't like reference humor anymore because we had this big stint in the last decade about it and it was getting ridiculous. I mean, it's still prevalent in films, mostly family comedies, and it's usually used as a marker to how quickly a movie is going to be forgotten. The more the references, the quicker they're forgetting. But surprisingly enough, the references in this film date pretty okay. I mean, sure, you have the Laverne and Shirley bit, but even if it does go over people's heads, it's still a funny moment. You have the Terminator joke, and a lot of people still remember Terminator. I mean, I think the reason why it works in this film is because the whole film isn't reference humor. It's only here and there. I really can't think of any others. I mean, there's the Scooby-Doo ending, but everybody knows Scooby-Doo. And I guess it's because this film doesn't rely on its reference humor alone, and it's not every other joke. So that's good. Some people do call this an unintentional period piece because it was right before grunge took over, so there's still a bunch of hair metal going about in this film. But, whenever I watch the film, I don't think about that type of stuff. I just laugh, and I think a movie is able to do that because, in reality, every film will become an unintentional period piece eventually. If it's set in modern time, if people are still watching it in the future, it will eventually become an unintentional period piece. And there are films that actually use that to its advantage, like Birdman and other films, but I guess that's another video for another time. Another great thing about this film is that in comedies, especially in some today, you get this sort of by-the-numbers dialogue. I mean, for instance, a really attractive female will end up with a really dorky guy in a lot of comedies, and you will get the obligatory, dialogue bit of, "You're so hot, and you shouldn't be with that guy, but I like him." And it's really annoying how that keeps happening. This film doesn't have to tell you that people think of Wayne as dorky, it just sorta is there. Yes, he's a dorky guy, and Cassandra is a really attractive female that, is kinda out of his league, but we don't need that in his dialogue. It's just established that people think it's dorky. I mean, Garth kinda says it, but it's more to say that Benjamin is much smoother than Wayne. But that actually leads to another point. It still feels genuine. It doesn't feel like, oh, we have to say this because we have to get it out there. No, it's just there, and we don't need to have hand-holding in our dialogue. The audience is smart, and this goofy comedy that is based off an SNL sketch actually treats its audience well. And for that matter, the predicament these characters get in near to the end of the second act is done reasonably. And Wayne gets upset and he kind of sets in motion this split between he and Cassandra. I mean, it's not one of those Cassandra goes into the other room with one of her friends and Wayne accidentally overhears her and there's this stupid misunderstanding and then they gotta be apart for some of the film and it's really stupid. No, this film doesn't do that. Excellent! And that's another great thing. The characters are flawed. I mean, they're not jerks, but they are flawed. Wayne does get himself into a predicament, and through use of a fourth wall joke, he finds that he has to make things right. And that's another thing, like, this film uses its humor to its advantage to further the plot. It's not just halting dead in its track to tell a stupid joke. It actually used it. Even the Alice Cooper stuff, it's being used by Benjamin to get Wayne out of the way so he can get closer to Cassandra. See, the humor is used as a tool. The humor is still humorous, but it's used as a tool. And I can say that with a bunch of other moments in the film as well. Anyway, this film is awesome. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Again, you're gonna enjoy it even after all this stuff I said. I guarantee you, you won't regret it. Go see it. What do you guys like about this film? Let's talk. Let's really get into it because I love this movie and I hope you love it too. Leave what you think in the comments below, and if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Stay tuned to Classy Octopus. Thank you so much for watching this video and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.